Sometimes in history, great events do not begin with armies. They do not begin with kings, or with loud speeches, or with battles. They begin when ordinary people wake up one morning and realize they are tired of being afraid. The fall of the Berlin Wall began on such a day. Imagine a city with a scar running through its heart. On one side, bright lights, music, shops, freedom to travel. On the other side, silence, watchtowers, barbed wire, suspicion. One street, left side, one world. Right side, another world. The wall was not only made of concrete, it was built from separated families, letters that never arrived, unfinished hugs, and last goodbyes that were never spoken. People who were born in the same city suddenly became strangers. In one night, a father stayed on one side, his son on the other. Sisters were separated from brothers. Lovers were divided without a chance to say farewell. No one was asked. No vote. No discussion. People simply woke up one morning, and there was a wall. The most painful part was this. When people looked over the wall, they did not just see another country. They saw the life they could have had. A mother waved to her child from the western side, but the child could not cross. An old woman saw her son through a window, but could not open the door. Phones were listened to. Letters were read. Footsteps near the wall were watched. Years passed and people became two kinds. Those who accepted the wall and those who could never accept it. The ones who could not accept it tried. Some dug tunnels. Some hid inside car seats. Some built balloons to fly over the wall. Some died beneath it. Children grew up knowing what freedom was from maps in school, but not from their own streets. By the autumn of 1989, something changed. Not only the weather, the world itself. Systems were cracking. Old speeches no longer convinced anyone. For the first time, people spoke not in whispers but in crowds. Fear began to tremble, then weaken, then break. No one yet knew that soon the world would watch unforgettable images. People laughing from the top of the wall, hammers breaking concrete, families reunited after decades, the first free steps across a forbidden border. No one knew that an entire system would collapse because of one sentence and the courage of ordinary citizens. But one thing was already clear. No wall can stand forever, because there is something stronger than concrete, the human desire to be free. To understand why the Berlin Wall was built, we have to go back to the end of World War II. Germany lost the war. Its cities were ruins. But the real battle that followed was not fought with tanks. It was fought with ideas. The world split into two camps. The Western Bloc, led by the United States, the Eastern Bloc, led by the Soviet Union, and Germany itself was divided. The same happened to Berlin, a single city cut into zones. American, British, French, and Soviet on maps, it looked like lines. In life, it became two different worlds. In the East, the new socialist government promised equality, but brought censorship, secret police, and economic hardship. In the West, there was higher salaries, free travel, political freedom, consumer goods many had never seen before. And people noticed the difference. Then something started to happen. Quietly at first, doctors left, teachers left, students left, engineers left. Between 1949 and 1961, around 3 million people escaped from East Germany, mostly by going through Berlin. It was called the brain drain. The East was losing not just population, but its future. Factories had no workers, hospitals had no doctors, universities had empty seats. The government faced a terrifying question. If everyone leaves, who will remain? So they made a decision. Not to fix the system, not to improve life, but to trap the people. They called it a protective barrier. They said it would keep enemies out. In reality, it was built to keep their own citizens in. On the night of August 12th to 13th, 1961, Berlin went to sleep as one city and woke up as two. Streets were cut by barbed wire. Railways were blocked. Families were frozen on opposite sides of the line. Within days, wire became concrete. Concrete became walls. Walls became watchtowers, mines, floodlights, and guns. The message was simple. No one leaves. The Berlin Wall was not built because people wanted to invade East Germany. It was built because too many wanted to escape from it. It was not a sign of strength. It was a sign of fear, a government afraid of its own people. And yet the wall contained its own weakness. It proved to the world that the system behind it needed concrete and rifles to survive. The wall was meant to last forever. History had other plans. By the late 1980s, the Berlin Wall was still standing, but the world around it was no longer the same. For decades, fear had been stronger than hope. But slowly, quietly, something began to shift. People discovered one powerful truth. If millions think the same thought, it cannot be silenced forever. In the Soviet Union, a new leader appeared, Mikhail Gorbachev. He used two words that shook the entire Eastern Bloc: perestroika, reform, glasnost, openness. These words sounded harmless, but for closed societies, they were like opening windows in a locked room. People started to talk about things they were never allowed to discuss. They questioned the economy, the shortages, the lies on television, the fear in everyday life. The old system had cracks. Now light was entering through them. At the same time, Eastern Europe was waking up. In Poland, workers formed the Solidarity movement and demanded rights. In Hungary, the border with Austria was opened and thousands of East Germans slipped through. In Czechoslovakia, students filled the streets with candles instead of weapons. Everywhere the same words were heard: we are not afraid anymore. Governments still had tanks, but people had something more dangerous: courage in public. In East Germany, Monday nights became different. Churches filled with people not for prayer only, but for discussion. Then discussions moved outside. Thousands marched through Leipzig and other cities. No guns, no violence. Just voices saying, "Wir sind das Volk." We are the people. It was not a threat. It was a reminder. Power does not live in palaces. Power lives in people. And the leaders understood something frightening. They could no longer control the future with fear from the past. By the autumn of 1989, the wall was still tall, the watchtowers still stood, the searchlights still moved across the night. But psychologically, the wall had already fallen, because once people learned to say, "I am not afraid," no amount of concrete can protect a collapsing system. The world had begun to change, and soon the wall would too. No one planned the exact moment the Berlin Wall would fall. There was no grand speech prepared, no official countdown, no fireworks waiting. It happened the way many great moments in history do: by mistake, and by the courage of ordinary people. November 9th, 1989. A government spokesman, Gunnar Schabowski, was reading from papers he barely understood. A journalist asked, "When do the new travel rules come into effect?" Schabowski hesitated. He looked down at his notes, confused. Then he said the sentence that changed the world: "As far as I know, effective immediately." Those two words, effective immediately, spread faster than any bullet. Within minutes, people turned off the television and walked toward the wall. Not hundreds, not thousands, crowds. Border guards were not prepared. They had no clear orders. Should they shoot? Should they push people back? Should they open the gates? The people kept coming. They were not angry. They were not armed. They were simply done being afraid. One young officer at the Bornholmer checkpoint faced the decision of his life. He saw parents holding children, old men with trembling hands, students chanting and laughing nervously. He understood something in that moment. If he ordered his men to fire, history would remember him as a murderer. If he opened the gate, history would remember him as the man who chose people over orders. He took a breath and said, "Let them through." The impossible happened. The gate opened. People didn't run. They walked, slow at first, as if not believing it was real. Then laughter broke out. Then tears, then music. Crowds climbed on top of the wall. Strangers hugged each other. Beer bottles clinked. Flags waved. Hammers and chisels appeared from nowhere. Each strike against the wall was louder than any cannon shot. Concrete fell away in chunks, and with it fell decades of fear. Pieces of the wall were lifted like trophies, not symbols of victory over an enemy, but symbols of victory over division. That night, Berlin was not two cities anymore. It was one voice. We are free. The wall had been built to last forever. It collapsed in a single night, not because it was weak concrete, but because millions of people finally understood their strength. History recorded many wars won by armies, But this victory belonged to ordinary citizens with cold hands, warm hearts, and the courage to step through an open gate.